The immediate consequences of the first 3 days are nothing short of apocalyptic for the Korean peninsula. The dream of a quick, surgical strike is gone, replaced by the nightmare of a multifaceted war. The first and most devastating consequence is the human cost. The artillery barrage on the Seoul metropolitan area has created a humanitarian crisis on a scale not seen in generations. Millions of terrified citizens attempt to flee south, choking every highway. The infrastructure of one of the world's most advanced nations is crumbling. Hospitals are overwhelmed. The electrical grid is failing. Food and clean water are becoming scarce. The crisis is not confined to the south. Retaliatory strikes in the north have caused significant civilian casualties. Fear of a total regime collapse sends another wave of refugees surging towards the Chinese border. Beijing, dreading this exact scenario, is forced to deploy massive military forces to contain the tide of desperate people. The Korean peninsula has become a bleeding wound, displacing millions. The nuclear detonation has fundamentally changed the conflict. The 80-year-old nuclear taboo is shattered. The question for Washington, Seoul, and Tokyo is no longer how to win the conventional war, but how to prevent a full-scale nuclear exchange. North Korea, having proven its capability and willingness, now holds a terrifying advantage. It has enough fissile material for up to 90 warheads and a variety of delivery systems that can reach South Korea, Japan, and the continental United States. The Cold War doctrine of mutually assured destruction doesn't apply cleanly. Does the U.S. respond with a nuclear strike of its own, almost certainly triggering a full launch against Seoul and Tokyo? Or does it hold back, risking the appearance of weakness and emboldening the North to use another nuke? This crisis in decision-making paralyzes the world. Radioactive fallout could contaminate vast swaths of the peninsula and beyond, and the global non-proliferation treaty will be rendered meaningless overnight. As the military and humanitarian crises unfold, a third crisis is sweeping the globe, a complete economic meltdown. South Korea is a linchpin of the global economy. The country is a world leader in producing the memory chips that are the building blocks of every smartphone, computer, and data center on the planet. With its industrial heartland under fire, South Korea's exports have ceased. The global electronics supply chain is severed at its source. The shockwave ripples outwards, causing a catastrophic downturn in the tech sector. The disruption to maritime trade in Northeast Asia throws global commerce into chaos. Stock markets plummet. Oil prices skyrocket. An analysis by Bloomberg Economics projected that a full-scale war could cost the global economy an astonishing $4 trillion in the first year alone, wiping out nearly 4% of global GDP. The world would be plunged into a recession deeper than the 2008 financial crisis. The war redraws the geopolitical map. The United States finds itself bogged down in a nightmarish conflict, draining its resources and providing a strategic opening for its rivals. China may be compelled to intervene militarily in North Korea, not to save the regime, but to secure its nuclear weapons and establish a buffer zone. This would create an incredibly dangerous situation, risking a direct conflict between U.S. and Chinese forces. The U.S.-Japan and U.S.-South Korea alliances are put to the ultimate test. A newly threatened Japan would be forced to rearm at an unprecedented rate. The world could cleave into two distinct blocks, reminiscent of the Cold War, but far more volatile. International institutions like the UN would be proven powerless, sidelined by raw power politics. Even if a full nuclear exchange is avoided, the aftermath would be a landscape of pure devastation. The Korean peninsula would be in ruins. The cost of reconstruction would be in the trillions. If the North Korean regime collapses, It would not lead to peaceful reunification, but to chaos and a protracted insurgency. The task of denuclearizing, rebuilding, and deprogramming an entire nation would be a burden for a century. The war that began with a limited strike would leave no winners. South Korea, trying to eliminate a threat, would find itself devastated. North Korea, trying to survive, would ensure its own destruction. And the world would be left a poorer, more dangerous, and more uncertain place, forever scarred by the conflict that finally brought the long, cold peace on the Korean peninsula to a fiery end. The scenario of a South Korean first strike is a sobering reminder that the line between a defensive action and a catastrophic escalation is terrifyingly thin. A preemptive strike, born from a logical desire to neutralize an existential threat, could unleash a chain reaction that no one can control, leading to a humanitarian disaster and a conventional war of unprecedented ferocity. The true horror, however, lies in the unpredictable nature of the response. A cornered regime, with its hands on nuclear weapons and a doctrine that mandates their use, would not follow a conventional script. This would push the world into a nuclear crisis, upend the global economy, and redraw the map of international power. The very act designed to ensure security would trigger a global insecurity crisis. The Korean Peninsula remains one of the most dangerous places on Earth, not just because of the North's aggression, but because of the terrifying logic of the situation itself. It is a place where two heavily armed states, backed by nuclear powers, are trapped in a security dilemma with no easy exit. In such a world, where the stakes are this high, perhaps the most pressing question we face is this. In an age of interconnected risk and weapons of mass destruction, is the very concept of a limited world now the most dangerous illusion of all?